Okay, so get ready because we are really diving deep today into the world of medical education. Well, kind of.
Yeah, it's not your typical med school story, is it?
Not at all. We're going behind the scenes of AMBOSS,
Yeah.
a learning platform for doctors. And honestly, even the name of the co-founder we'll be hearing from is intriguing.
Oh, how so?
Dr. Siewert Weiss.
Sievert, like the unit of radiation.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And yes, the interview even mentions people asking if he's been near any, radiation sources.
I bet. I mean, with a name like that.
Right. It's a good reminder that you never know where you'll find those little intriguing details, but this Sievert, his impact is anything BUT radioactive.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more. What makes this story so different?
Well, for starters, he's part of a team that's truly changing how doctors learn and his journey to get there, full of insights for anyone really in any field.
See, that's what always gets me, these stories that shatter our preconceived notions.
Hmm.
Like, you wouldn't automatically connect doctor with tech entrepreneur, would you?
Not typically. And Sievert's story really throws those assumptions out the window.
So where do we even begin? Was he always a tech whiz?
It's funny you should ask that because his background is almost like a blend of nature and nurture. His father,
Mm-hmm.
an architect, and his mom worked in medicine.
Wow, so you can already see those influences taking shape early on. It makes you wonder about the subtle ways our upbringing shapes our thinking, you know?
Absolutely. But even with those influences, his path to medicine wasn't a straight line. He was drawn to things like architecture, industrial design. Even mentioning those fields were always needed. That resonated with me. I feel like a lot of people struggle to find that path where they feel both fulfilled and like they're making a real impact.
It's that crossroads so many of us face, right? Passion, practicality, impact. Sometimes the answer isn't clear, which is exactly what happened with Sievert. He ultimately chose medicine because it felt like the perfect blend of his love for science and that direct human connection, you know?
It's that desire to make a difference that shines through.
Right. But here's where his story takes this turn. I think a lot of listeners will relate to. He starts med school, excited by the science, but then hits a wall.
Oh no, what happened?
The learning methods themselves felt stifling, almost the opposite of what makes medicine so fascinating.
I can see that happening. It's like being presented with this incredible feast, but being forced to eat it with a teaspoon.
Exactly. And that frustration, that desire for a better way, is often what sparks innovation. And in Sievert's case, it was joining a study group that changed everything.
Really? How so?
They discovered that by explaining concepts to each other, teaching and learning in their own words, that was the key to really getting it.
It makes you think about how we're taught versus how we truly learn.
It's not just about memorizing facts.
Mm.
It's about internalizing them, applying them. And that's crucial in a field as demanding as medicine. But here's the thing. They realized there was no tool out there that captured this collaborative, interactive way of learning. And that's where the idea for AMBOSS was born.
So from a study group to a full-blown platform, that's quite the leap.
That's putting it mildly. But that's often how the best ideas are born, out of a need for something that doesn't yet exist.
It really makes you appreciate that saying, necessity is the mother of invention. But having the idea is the easy part, right?
Yeah.
Turning that into a reality, especially in a field as complex as medicine, that's a whole other challenge.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The early days of a startup. It's like a crash course in resourcefulness.
Mm.
And remember, they were aiming to revolutionize medical education. That's not just creating a platform. It's about securing the highest quality content imaginable.
And in this case, that meant getting their hands on actual licensing exam questions.
Exactly. We're not talking about a simple Google search here. This is diving into the intricate world of medical licensing, which comes with a pretty hefty price tag. Let me tell you.
You're not kidding. We're talking 250,000 euros just for the licensing rights to these questions.
Wow, that's a serious investment right off the bat.
It really highlights the financial hurdles startups face even with a brilliant idea. Those early funding rounds can make or break you.
Oh, for sure. You need to convince investors not just that your idea is great, but that your team can actually pull it off. It's that intersection of passion and pragmatism. And thankfully for AMBOSS, they found those angel investors who got it, who understood this wasn't just a study tool. It was about fixing a real problem in medical education.
It's like those investors saw a glimpse of the future and wanted to be a part of it.
Exactly.
Mm.
But even with the money secured, the challenge didn't just disappear. They still had to write code, this massive amount of content.
We're not talking about a few study notes here. This is revamping the way an entire medical curriculum is approached.
And think about the sheer volume of information in med school. It's overwhelming, even for the best students. AMBOSS had to make all of that digestible money engaging even.
Almost like they needed to make it addictive so students wouldn't just use it, they'd rely on it.
It's that crucial difference, isn't it? Providing information versus creating a truly valuable learning experience.
Mm.
And they were targeting a very specific and honestly limited market at first, med students in Germany.
It's a classic startup dilemma, right? Focusing on a niche to gain traction versus scaling quickly for wider impact.
It's like they were building a rocket ship while simultaneously figuring out how to launch it into orbit. Talk about pressure.
No kidding. So we've got these three friends, a mountain of expenses, an ever-growing to-do list, and a limited market. What was it that kept them going through all of that? It's a question every entrepreneur probably asks themselves at some point, right? When that initial excitement phase, and you're looking at the sheer amount of work ahead. So what was it for them? What kept them going?
Well, it sounds cliche, but a mix of ingenuity, for sure, passion, definitely, and a healthy dose of that startup scrappiness we were talking about.
Because when you really look at it, they had limited resources,
Yeah.
but they made up for it in pure determination.
They really did. I mean, remember those licensing fees we talked about?
Astronomical.
They had to find creative ways to create content.
Hmm.
So they tapped into their network friends family, turning them into this volunteer army of medical experts and editors.
It's amazing what you can accomplish when you bring together people who believe in a shared vision.
Right. And let's not forget the name they chose, AMBOSS.
Ah, yes. Talk about branding genius.
It works on so many levels for those who don't know AMBOSS. It's a play on those tiny bones in your ear, the hammer and anvil, essential for hearing,
Right.
but it also taps into student slang. Hammer exam. Get it?
Oh, it's so clever. Catchy, memorable, and it really captures that feeling of making medical exams a little less daunting.
Right.
But okay, a great name, a dedicated team, that only gets you so far. They needed to get AMBOSS into the hands of students. And with no marketing budget, they did what any scrappy startup would do, hit the pavement.
Literally. University to university, spreading the word about AMBOSS. I love this image of them from the interview, handing out flyers, even doing live demos on iPads in the cafeteria.
Meeting your users where they are. Classic. And that direct approach, that genuine connection, it clearly resonated. By spring 2013, they had 15% of their target market med students prepping for exams.
Which for a brand new platform, no marketing budget. Huge accomplishment.
It proved they were onto something right, filling a real need.
Absolutely. But 15%, while impressive, isn't going to pay the bills forever. They had to scale up and fast.
So how did they do it?
This is where their focus on the user experience really paid off, because AMBOSS wasn't just another study tool. It was dynamic interactive. They used things like spaced repetition, adaptive learning, even personalized study plans.
It's like having a personal tutor in your pocket.
Exactly. And word spread like wildfire. Within a year, their market share exploded to 90%.
90%. Are you serious?
It's a testament to what happens when you build a product that delivers. They listened to their users, they kept improving, and they created something students didn't just use. They loved it.
It's almost like a case study in how a great product can fuel its own growth, even in a field like medicine, which isn't exactly known for rapid change.
You got that right.
Yeah.
But their ambition didn't stop there. With AMBOSS's success, they started thinking bigger, expanding beyond exam prep. They even launched a job platform called Steigbügel.
People.
Yeah, it means stirrup in German.
Interesting. So like helping doctors climb the career ladder?
Exactly. It was a bold move. Showed they were in it for the long haul. Not content with just being the exam prep go-to, they wanted to support doctors throughout their entire careers.
So what was Steigbügel all about?
Well, they packed it with features. Detailed hospital reviews, salary insights, even a potential matching system to connect doctors with opportunities. It was like LinkedIn for the medical world.
Ambitious.
Very. But even with the best intentions, sometimes things don't quite pan out.
And that's part of the startup journey, too.
Right, definitely. They poured their hearts into Steigbügel. But the monetization aspect, they hadn't cracked the code just yet.
So a valuable lesson in finding that balance between chasing innovation and, keeping the lights on.
It's a tough call for any entrepreneur, knowing when to pivot or even pull the plug on a project.
For sure. So what happened with Steigbügel?
Well, they made the tough decision to shut it down in 2019.
It takes courage to make those calls.
Absolutely. But it speaks to their ability to adapt and learn. Which brings us to AMBOSS today. They've expanded way beyond Germany now. They've got a strong presence in the U.S., which meant adapting to a whole new medical education system.
Not an easy feat.
Not at all. And they've grown from those three friends to a company with almost 500 employees, all while staying true to their mission of empowering doctors with knowledge.
It's really inspiring to see how a simple desire to make things better can lead to such a huge impact. And as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of AMBOSS, I'm left thinking about something Sievert said about how atypical backgrounds can be a strength.
It's about bringing fresh perspectives to the table.
Exactly. So my question for everyone listening is, what's your AMBOSS moment? What problem in your world needs shaking up? What would it take for you to take that leap of faith and build something extraordinary? That's something worth pondering, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Something to think about.